Man, woke up this morning just like the rest of you guys to a shit show in the media with the FBI, man, on one. Absolutely on one. Terry Rozier, man, I kind of understood because his name had already been kicked around in investigations and scuttle, right? But Chauncey Billups, man, in this episode, we're going to explore exactly what's going on. I'm going to share a bit of information that I've gathered from the press conference given by Kash Patel, director of the FBI. We'll also get into a recap of day 2 in the NBA. It's going to be a long ass season. Let's talk about it.
Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic, and I want to welcome you to my channel, Opinion Stated, where I give unfiltered, opinionated sports takes. Let's go.
Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic. I want to welcome you back to my channel, Opinion Stated. Man, this episode today is going to be crazy. I'm going to dive right into it. I don't want to take too much time because I have a lot of information that I want to get into. Obviously, if you saw the thumbnail and the intro, then you know exactly what direction I'm headed into. Before I dive deep into the content, do me a huge favor. Like the video. Liking the video helps us cruise along Algorithm Avenue. Helps us get into the presence of individuals just like yourself who might be interested in this kind of content. Also, subscribe to the channel. Clicking that notification bell helps you to be notified as to when my newest episodes are uploaded, much like this one. And so I'm entitling today's episode, without further ado, Gambling Arrest Shit Show. Man, the FBI has waged war on NBA sports betting in general. It better be for every other league, because you're not going to tell me that it's only NBA players who are a little corrupt in their mind when it comes to hustling off the system a little bit. You know what I mean? To stack a little extra bread. Now, what I'm going to do before I go into any of this information or this content, right? I do want to address like some comments that I was just reading under posts on X, posts on YouTube from ESPN, breaking the news, etc. Where folks are like,
Dude, Terry Rozier, but it's just like too greedy.
24 million it was making this year. I guess it wasn't enough.
you know what I'm saying? Like all the judgmental shit. Now y'all know I don't do I don't do rumor content. I don't really care to do it, man. I like to do stuff that's surrounding sports, but this is so crazy. I'm just like, you know what I mean? I'm gonna share a little, share my insights on it because it goes deeper than rumor. Let me just say this to address the fan being greedy and whatever. I've never had that kind of money, but I do know what it's like to, you know what I mean? Like have folks relying on you financially and have folks also leaning on you financially. I've leaned on my fair share of people over the years as well. Am I saying that it's right? No, I'm not saying that you know, gaming the system is right. You know what I mean? But the system's fucked up too. I'm not saying that it justifies it. But when you always have somebody in your pocket, I can understand them being like, I mean, it's not as illegal as like robbing a bank or some shit. You know what I'm saying? But except it's robbing a bank. It's robbing the system. So instead of me giving you money, I can just say, man, look, take a couple of dollars and put it on this tonight. You know what I'm saying? Like game the system so that at least you have some money. I can keep you out of my pocket. And so that is kind of the psychology. I can understand it. Like I said, it doesn't make it right, but I can understand it. Now, having said that, I'm going to share with you guys the game plan for this episode so that we can dive into this information. In the first portion of the game plan, I'm going to talk about the FBI arrests themselves. I'm going to share with you, like I said, man, some information that I gathered from the press conference. I just clipped up a bit of it. That'll give you some insight. So it's not me saying it, it's them saying it. You know what I mean? So you can get a better idea and understanding if you don't have one already. In the second portion of the game plan, I'm going to get into an NBA recap of last night's game. Just really brief recap. where I'm going to talk some shit about, you know what I mean, some of the players and the teams. Third of all in the game plan, I'm going to address just a bit of NBA news that I heard, some alternate news that has nothing to do with, you know, the parts game plan parts 1 and 2. And then in the fourth part of the game plan, I'm going to get into my last word. I'm going to get the fuck out of your hair. Without further ado, man, let me dive into part 1, like I said, man, which is the FBI arrest. And so it was the Terry Rozier, like I said, man, announcement that was made, you know, immediately this morning. So I was on YouTube, you know what I mean, like doing my normal thing, just kind of looking at a bunch of videos, etc. But as I was scrolling down the timeline, I was fishing, I guess I say, for like some early morning content to just take in on my own and just enjoy. And then I saw this post from the NBA on ESPN community section, and I was just like, whoa. And it was, as stated, Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier was arrested early Thursday morning as part of an FBI sports betting gambling probe, sources tell ESPN. The Eastern District of New York and FBI Director Kash Patel will hold a press conference at 10 a.m. to announce arrests from the investigation. And so I was just like, what? We got a whole press conference about to jump off? Okay, cool. So at that point, you know, I guess I was playing the waiting game like everybody else, but also trying to, you know, kind of verify sources and see how much information I could find out so that I could be clear on, you know, what it is that I was going to be speaking about. Like I said, I don't really enjoy engaging in like kind of the rumor or trending topic, like hot topic stuff that doesn't pertain specifically to the sport. But this has major implications because of what the NBA has been doing as a business partner with these gambling apps, et cetera, over the years. So I thought it was very important to cover the story. And so, yeah, so as was referenced already, the press conference held by the FBI, I'm going to get into a portion of that press conference, a clip here. It's about 2 minutes or so. Take a listen to FBI Director Kash Patel, give you guys the rundown on exactly what's going on.
I'm now going to turn the podium over to FBI Director Kash Patel.
Good morning. Today we are here in New York to announce a historic arrest across a wide-sweeping criminal enterprise that envelops both the NBA and La Casa Nostra. The men and women up here standing with me represent a small portion of the leadership team that brought profound justice in an era that needed it more than any. I'll just highlight some of the details in the case and the FBI work, and then you'll hear from the others. But as you now know, individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today, former, current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years. The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals today responsible for this case, which is very much ongoing. Not only did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA, but we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Casa Nostra to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchesi crime families. And you'll hear more about those details today. The charges and the arrests that were taken down across this country range from wire fraud, money laundering, extortion, robbery, illegal gambling. This FBI will leave no room for any perpetrator of crime across this country. You hear a lot about our work of defending the homeland and crushing violent crime. Well, this work is also representative of a colossal portion of the FBI's mandate to keep America safe and to keep our entertainment industry fair and secure.
What? Okay, cool. Wait, man. A lot of information covered there, right? A lot of things that, but what he said in closing kind of fucks me up because it's annoying. You know what I mean? Like that, this work to keep the entertainment industry fair, you know, and this sort of thing. Like, so, but we're allowing gambling, you know, legally, and allowing these major sports franchises to get in bed with these gambling operations and outfits, but we're proposing to keep things fair. Like, there's nothing fair about it. There's nothing, absolutely nothing fair about it. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. And so just be careful not to blow smoke over here, Cash. It's fucking ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, blowing smoke up our ass is never the way. Pause. So, you know, to that notion of keeping things fair, there was a post on X that I want to jump into from NBACentral.com directly, or as I was again waiting on this press conference to take place. And you know what I mean? Like a lot of the chatter is that of what I'm about to read, and it was, solely kind of hinging upon that ending or the closing of that clip that I shared from Kash Patel, director of the FBI. Breaking: Terry Rozier has been arrested per Shams Charania. This was an NBA Central post on X.com. And just some of the comments under it. The Fed's going to make an example out of Terry Rozier, said T.D. McClellan. Flag Mav says rigging games is no joke. No joke. Rigging games is no joke. Rigging games is no joke. Not just, from the players specifically, but also, man, from some of these gambling outfits, the bookies, etc., the mob, those with huge mob ties, which it was referenced, by Kash Patel. So a whole bunch of it, man, comes into play. It's not just the players acting alone. You know what I mean? These gambling operations and outfits are as culpable as the players. Base King chimed in. I should get my money back from all the parlays he sold. SMH. That's a big deal. That is a very valid point from Base King. Man, it's FanDuel, MGM, you know what I mean? All of them. Are they going to run folks their money back? You know what I mean? Who had this cat on parlays? Are they? Any of the players who were such involved or such accused. That's a really good and valid question. Drizzy Mac says, makes so much sense. FanDuel, I want my money back. You know what I'm saying? So again, man, I just wanted to kind of dig into that really quick, and then to say, so if that wasn't, or as if that wasn't enough, then you know what I mean? Like I send it to the homies in group chat. I'm like, bro, super early this morning. You know what I mean? For us out here in Phoenix, I'm like 5:30 in the morning. I'm sending stuff to the group chat, screenshot of what I just shared with you guys. And then, the homie Isaiah sent, he was like, man, they got Chauncey too. And I was like, Chauncey Billups? He's like, yo. I was like, okay, cool. Let me see if I can confirm the story. And then he sent me the X link, and I, dug a little bit deeper. Found this post from abcnews.com's X, which reads, Portland Trailblazers head coach Chauncey Billups has been charged in an illegal poker operation tied to the mafia, law enforcement sources have told ABC News. Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier was arrested in a separate but related betting case. And I was like, damn, okay, cool. So this doesn't have anything to do with the sports betting, because I was trying to figure out like what the ties were. Like, was Chauncey throwing games? Like, what was happening? But then they said poker, and I'm like, man, mans can't even play poker outside the casino without getting hit up. And of course, without information, it's left to, kind of base inform ideas around the thing, and to presuppose things that may or may not be true. Well, based on the press conference, we were able to ascertain a bit of information specifically pertaining to Chauncey Billups' case. And so that I present to you here. Let's take a look at the clips. I'll come back with my insights.
The first indictment involves 6 defendants who are alleged to have participated in one of the most brazen sports corruption schemes since online sports betting became widely legalized in the United States. This scheme is an insider sports betting conspiracy that exploited confidential information about National Basketball Association athletes and teams. The second indictment involves 31 defendants alleged to have participated in a nationwide scheme to rig illegal poker games. These defendants, which include former professional athletes, used high-tech cheating technology to steal millions of dollars from victims in underground poker games that were secretly fixed. The games in the New York area were backed by the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese crime families. Other co-conspirators were previously charged for their roles in the scheme, including former NBA player Jonte Porter. Between December 2022 and March 2024, these defendants perpetrated a scheme to defraud by betting on inside, non-public information about NBA athletes and teams. The non-public information included when specific players would be sitting out future games, or when they would pull themselves out early for purported injuries or illnesses. They relied on corrupt individuals, including Jones and Rozier. They also misused information obtained through long-standing friendships that they had with NBA players and coaches. And in at least one instance, they got their information by threatening a current player, Porter, because of his pre-existing gambling debts. Defendants used this non-public information to place hundreds of thousands of dollars in fraudulent bets, mostly in the form of prop bets on individual player performance. The bets were placed through online sports books and also in person at casinos. The defendants relied on a network of straw bettors to place the maximum amount of bets to increase their potential profits. Most of these bets succeeded, and the intended losses were in the millions of dollars. The defendants then laundered their illegal winnings in various ways: peer-to-peer platforms, bank wires, and simple cash exchanges. The indictment details specific examples where the defendants profited from illegal gambling and illegal betting on various NBA games about the performance of players on, among other things, the Charlotte Hornets, the Portland Trail Blazers, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Toronto Rangers. Each defendant in the NBA basketball gambling case has been charged with conspiracy to commit wire fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering. Now, I would like to turn to the other case, United States versus ILO, very specifically rigged poker games. The so-called face cards included the defendant, Chauncey Billups, who at the time of the scheme was a former NBA player and is currently the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, and also Damon Jones, a former NBA player and coach. What the victims, the fish, didn't know is that everybody else at the poker game, from the dealer to the players, including the face cards, were in on the scam. Once the game was underway, the defendants fleeced the victims out of tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars per game. The defendants used a variety of very sophisticated cheating technologies, some of which were provided by other defendants in exchange for a share of the profits from the scheme. For example, they used off-the-shelf shuffling machines that had been secretly altered in order to read the cards in the deck, predict which player at the table had the best poker hands, and relay that information to an off-site operator. The off-site operator sent the information via cell phone back to a co-conspirator at the table, and that person at the table was known as the quarterback. The quarterback then signaled secretly the information he had received from others to others at the table, and together they used that information in order to win their games and to cheat the victims. Defendants used other cheating technologies such as poker chip tray analyzers, which is a poker chip tray that secretly reads cards using a hidden camera, special contact lenses or eyeglasses that can read pre-marked cards, and an X-ray table that can read cards face down on the table. The Mafia, specifically members and associates of the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese organized crime families, had pre-existing control over non-rigged, illegal poker games around New York City. As a result, they also became involved in the rigged poker games, helping to organize the games and taking a cut of the proceedings, and working to enforce the collection of debts.
Man, special eyeglasses and contact lenses is insane. See-through just card tables. It's insane. And so, you know what I mean? Like the mob ties to everything, the intricacies of how, the cheating went down, and it's insane. What Chauncey is involved in is, and not that I actually paid much attention to the Gilbert Arenas, gambling, stuff, but this sounds crazy. I don't know how closely they are related, and to be honest, I'm not even interested in doing a comparison of the two to figure it out. But all of this sounds crazy. It definitely sounds crazy, man. So I am never one to pray for an individual's downfall, or celebrate when a person is caught up, man, in some kind of a criminal proceeding or anything like that. I've had my fair share of criminal proceedings and dances with the law over the years, time in prison, the whole nine, man. I don't wish that on anybody. So to Chauncey, Terry, everybody else involved, man, praying for you guys. Like they said, it's some 30 plus, probably between both cases, some 60 plus individuals who've gotten themselves, man, tied up in this craziness. And man, praying for you guys. You know what I mean? That you can find your way out on the other side, man, unscathed. So it's kind of crazy. But on the note of just kind of all the insanity and everything that's happening with the FBI, man, seeming to be on this witch hunt, or, you know, pursuing justice, as Cash Patel said, in this regard, to make sure that nobody's defrauded, nobody's taken advantage of, nobody, like, man, since you're in the spirit of doing like everything else with the FBI's resources, how about you like launch a probe into like all these fucking 3-pointers being shot in the NBA today? Like, do something about it. Help us out, would you, Cash? So moving right along, man, back to a comment that I saw on X that I just thought was interesting, from Frank and Beans on X.com. He says, America, we want the Epstein files. FBI, Terry Rozier is throwing prop bets. I thought that was hilarious. So I wanted to share that. But on the ESPN post, I commented personally, you know what I mean? Because it was my first thought as soon as I saw the Terry Rozier, you know, breaking news from ESPN at 5:30 this morning. I was like, what the fuck? And so my response on that post was, Cash Patel, keep that same energy with every investigation, my guy. Release the Epstein files, please and thank you. Release the rest of the footage that shows Charlie Kirk's supposed assassin on the roof prior to him jumping down to flee the scene. Oh, please and thank you. Clown and their circus, man. It's crazy. So I just wanted to share that, you know what I'm saying? Like, fuck injustice, you know what I mean, of any kind. It's really annoying. I can understand, again, man, wanting to crack down on folks for trying to defraud a system and to do that thing, man. But the system of gambling in and of itself, I think, is fucked up to be coupled and paired with professional sports. It is what it is. Gambling has always taken place. It's such a pickle to be in, you know what I mean? Because you almost tie the NBA's hands and the players' hands to say, you know what I mean? Like, man, yeah, we're going to allow people to gamble on the game that you're playing, but you can't gamble, you know? So to tell the NBA that also, when it's a multi-billion-dollar a year industry, albeit built on the back of citizens who are, you know what I mean? Like, they have a choice one way or the other whether or not they want to gamble, but who do choose to gamble? And so to allow everybody else to make billions off of your product and you're not able to make billions, it kind of puts you in a bit of a pickle. But all in all, it's still a conflict of interest. And so that's where I kind of draw the line to say, you know, you either outlaw gambling all the way around the board, you know what I mean, or you hold these sports leagues to a strict, more strict conflict of interest, you know what I mean, kind of a dealing when you're talking about their business dealings in that regard. So moving right along to the second portion of the game plan, I'm going to talk about last night's basketball. Let's get into some actual sports talk. We'll talk about the scores and recaps, and recap some of these games. So just really quick, just to run through all of the scores. The Miami Heat faced off against the Orlando Magic. Orlando would take the game by 4 points, 121 to 105. The Cleveland Knicks game, which was televised, a really interesting game to watch. Cleveland would lose this game to the Knicks 119 to 111. The Wizards faced off against the Milwaukee Bucks, the Who. They took on my hometown team, the Bucks, and they'd lose 120 to 133. So the Bucks came out and stomped them by 13 points. The Pelicans took on the Memphis Grizzlies. They'd lose 128 to 122. And the Clippers would get the shit beat out of them by the Utah Jazz, 129 to 108. That was a shock. That was my shocker of the evening. The Minnesota Timberwolves took on the Portland Trailblazers, who they defeat 118 to 114. Moving right along to the Phoenix Suns, where I presently reside. Phoenix would beat the Sacramento Kings 120 to 116. I was actually expecting Sacramento to win that game, but I guess, man, Phoenix, you know, squeaked them out, obviously. And Phoenix might be a little bit better than I thought this season. Certainly were last night the better team versus Sacramento. The San Antonio Spurs, which was the second game televised, they beat the shit out of the Dallas Mavericks, which everybody expected. No Kyrie. Didn't really expect them to be, very competitive without Kyrie, even though it was a decent game. But, you know, those young boys in San Antonio, man, are just too much. So San Antonio would take the game on a huge, huge night from Wembanyama, offensively, defensively, how he affected the game, how he's playing. I'm going to dig into Wembanyama a little bit more in terms of what he is doing out there. Man, it is crazy. It just looks bananas. But they beat, or shall I say, would destroy the Dallas Mavericks 125-92. So they beat these people by 32 points out there. It's craziness. It's say or 32 points. So the Pistons would take on the Bulls. I expected the Pistons to win that game, but they did not. The Bulls beat them 115-111. So that was a really interesting, shocker for the night. Probably another shocker for the night, even though if you watch my preseason prediction show, you see I'm very high on Toronto. So I was happy to see Toronto squeak out this win. Also said I was kind of confused as to why everybody was so high on Atlanta, even though I kind of drank the Kool-Aid a little bit and I ranked them fairly high as well. I was just like, well, I mean, I guess. But they, suffer a 20-point blowout to the Toronto Raptors last night, beating the Atlanta Hawks 138-118. The Philadelphia 76ers will squeak out a win over the Boston Celtics, the much, depleted Boston Celtics without Jason Tatum, 117-116. Looked like Boston was going to take that game as, during. I was kind of looking at the scores as it was happening live, and I was like, okay, looks like Boston, man, might squeak one out. But I guess, playing against Philadelphia, I'm like, why would they not? But Philly, man, would hold on to win on a very strong game, or strong performances, I'll say, by both VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey, which I'm going to dig into here in just a little bit. And then the final blowout of the evening, the Charlotte Hornets thrash the Brooklyn Nets 136-117. Man, so they just stomped them people. Something terrible. Brooklyn is just Brooklyn. But as I said, man, I'm going to dig into just a little bit of the specifics. Shout out to Basketball Network, who provided these graphics here. I saw them. I said, create them on my own. I'm just going to use Basketball Networks, and I'll shout them out. So shout out to Basketball Network, man. I appreciate y'all. Great work on the graphics. The Knicks and Cleveland Cavaliers, as I said, was a televised game where the Knicks would take the contest 119-111 on a strong performance from OG Anunoby, man, who had 24 points, 14 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, and a block. OG Anunoby was looking good. He was one of the players that I touted in my preseason predictions, or premature predictions, for the season. 9 of 17 shooting from the field. That's 53% from the field. 4 of 9 from 3, 44% from 3. And so I like OG Anunoby, man. I'm a fan. I think that if OG Anunoby can turn himself into a double-double force, they'll definitely need him to help cat out on the boards. Mitchell Robinson seems to stay hurt. They've got some additional, muscle coming off of the bench. So, you know what I mean? Like there was one such player. I can't remember his name right now. I'm not looking at a full team roster or box score, but one of their young guns came in off the bench. Maybe he was doing a really, really good job, rim protecting. Being being good on both, I guess I'll say, like a good glass cleaner. So he was doing a great job of rebounding, offensive and defensive, and just being size on the inside to make it a little bit more difficult for Cleveland. So that was definitely a good sign to see. Another good thing to see from this game, I think I'll note, or noteworthy for me, is that it was Mike Brown's coaching debut in New York, and Mike's using his bench. They played 11 players in the first half of this game. Mike's like, nah, bro, I'm playing everybody, which is good because you kind of have to balance things out. Give guys some rest, you know what I mean? But also in utilizing your entire staff, or a good portion of your staff, if you have them to use, is that you help to instill confidence in these players, man, that they're going to play. And so when I know for sure that I'm going to be relied on to play tonight, I come with a different mindset. If I'm already feeling like, man, the coach has got his little 7-8 man rotation, I'm not going to scratch it. I'm not really going to be that dialed in. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, man, one of these players goes down or gets into foul trouble, and then you're like,
Yo, Chew, go in the game.
It's a detriment. Even though you say, well,
you get paid to do a thing, or you're being allowed to do a thing, like stay ready.
It's psychologically, it's not that simple. You know what I mean? I go 10, 15 games, and you're saying,
you stay ready.
and I've been ready for 15, 20 games, and I haven't got any run. So it's kind of hard for me to stay mentally dialed in. I know that has to make sense to you. So moving on, Donovan Mitchell, man, would drop 31 points in this game, 2 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 1 block on 12 of 25 shooting from the field for 48%. Donovan Mitchell had a fairly interesting game. I think I want to say he was off for a lot of the third quarter, you know what I mean, or fourth quarter. He came on strong in the third quarter. It's off second quarter. So first quarter came out kind of, showed some flashes that it was about to go down. Second quarter faded to black. Third quarter came out, scored 10 points in the first 2 minutes. I was like, holy shit. You know what I mean? But that's Donovan. Donovan's a bucket. And then, like I said, man, just faded to black kind of through the fourth quarter. So it was like, yeah, I mean, you get what you get at the end, but definitely need a better offensive showing from Donovan Mitchell. Man, moving right along to Victor Wembanyama. Holy fucking shit, bro. I got some highlights that I'm going to run up here too. Bro, Victor Wembanyama. We're talking about a leap from year 2 to year 3. I can remember before he came into the league, LeBron James called him an alien. You know what I mean? Kevin Durant would be heard as, it can be quoted as calling him a unicorn. Like, bro, this dude is, bro, what he has, what he's in possession of in terms of his physical attributes and in the upside is scary. And it really, really is. Manifested itself on the court last night to the tune of 40 points for Victor, 15 rebounds, 3 blocks, and on 15 of 21 shooting from the field. Man, this dude just looks like a 7'5" point guard in a lot of ways. He also looks like an adult me at 6'6" tall, playing against like some children on one of those little Nerf courts or something, bro. It's or a little Fisher Price, you know what I mean, little basketball rims. It's crazy, bro. It's like this dude just, I mean, his quickness, not just his footwork. I know folks are like, well, he worked out with Dream this summer and Hakeem Olajuwon is amazing at helping people with their footwork, but it wasn't just his footwork. It was his first step. It was what he was doing off the dribble. Some say, man, he worked out with Jamal Crawford too, bro. Bro, what he was doing handling the ball, I was just like, bro, what is going on right now? So one of the things that was said in the group chat with my fellas is, the homeboy Isaiah. Again, I got to get Isaiah on the show because I keep shouting him out. But Isaiah's like, man, right now it's plus 800 that Wembanyama will win the MVP. So I'm gonna go ahead and sprinkle a couple dollars on it. A few minutes later, he let us know that it had dropped to plus 600. So the rest of the world probably watched this game and were thinking the same thing since we're talking about sports betting and gambling. I'm not encouraging you to do anything, but I'm saying that might be the sweetest bet on the sports gambling, apps this season, man. It may be what Victor Wembanyama does because I think that his numbers, much like Jokic's numbers looked last year, I'm not saying that Wembanyama's going to average a triple-double, but I just think that he's going to put up some Wilt Chamberlain type numbers, man, based on what he did in this game against Dallas because that's against AD. That's against Anthony Davis. So, man, what is he going to do against like the Golden States and some of these other undersized teams is going to be diabolical. You know what I'm saying? So, man, Victor Wembanyama very well might be this year's most valuable player in the NBA. Moving right along, man, let's talk about Utah. Like I said, Utah beat the shit out the Clippers, man. Holy fuck, they beat the shit out the Clippers. I had the Clippers finishing as a number 6 seed in my preseason predictions, show my premature predictions. I don't question, what they'll be able to do. Obviously, agent attrition is going to catch up to them at some point. But, man, Walker Kessler fried fucking Big Zubac and Brook Lopez, apparently. 22 points in the game, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 4 blocks on 7 of 7 from the field. So Walker was out there getting it how he lived. I am expecting absolutely nothing from the Utah Jazz this season. But if this is any indication of what maybe finally, you know what I mean, with all this youth that they have on that team, maybe they're finally ready to turn the page, and Utah might be the sleeper out west. Very well could be. I don't question it. I don't doubt it. I wasn't expecting last night to happen, so I'm certainly, as I said, not expecting anything that, great to come out of Utah this season. That doesn't mean that it's not so. I might change my story in about a week or two. Check back with me. Moving right along, man, to that. Mama, there go that man. Anthony Edwards, they were on the verge of losing this game too, man. As I said, I was kind of peeking in at the scores, during, and, but AE will pull it out. 41 points, pause. would help his team pull out the victory, I'll say. 40 points in the game for AE, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 5 threes in the game on 50% shooting from the field. I was saying that I hope Anthony Edwards doesn't just fall in love with shooting the threes like he was doing last season, man. So hopefully he self-corrects a little bit. High volume of threes. I get it, man. That's what this league is all about. As you heard, man, I asked Cash Patel to look into it for us NBA fans. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, Anthony Edwards, man, as you can see, I had some highlights. You know what I mean? Kind of running for him too, man. Was doing his thing. You know what I mean? And he's such a skilled basketball player already. So I just hope that he continues to add to that skill level, doesn't rest on his laurels and just fall in love with shooting jumpers, because then it takes us away from seeing the fullness of this kid's game, and actually will then rob us from seeing the fullness of his development as a full, just overall basketball player. So Anthony Edwards did his thing, man, helped his team secure a win in their season opener. Moving right along to some of our old friends from drafts past, a few drafts past, man, being Zion Williamson and Ja Morant. Their teams will face off last night to launch the season. Again, the Memphis Grizzlies Jaws team would take the game 128-122. Man, Ja dropped 35 in the game, 3 boards, 3 assists, 1 steal on 13 of 20 shooting from the field, so 65%. Man, if you're a basketball fan, you can't help but love Ja Morant. Ja Morant's a beast, bro. You know what I mean? He's a really, really good basketball player, so I really like Ja Morant. I'm still waiting to see him, continue to round into form and to really hit a stride. You know what I mean? Like, not that he hasn't been a very good basketball player all these years, but I just feel like there's another level that he's yet to unlock. And so hopefully that mental will line up with the physical on the court, and then we'll be able to see the absolute best of Ja Morant, because I just would hate for him to be like one of those woulda, shoulda, coulda, or what if kind of stories, much like the homie Zion, who came in the same draft as he. Number 1 and number 2, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm remembering correctly, I'll say in the draft. 27 points for Zion in this game, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 steals on 10 of 21 shooting from the field, 48% to be exact. Man, Zion Williamson is a freak of nature. Great to see him back. Great to see him healthy. Great to see him having slimmed down. Hopefully he keeps, man, some of that weight off of his frame, so that we can also, likewise, same thing I said about Ja Morant, see the best out of Zion Williamson. And so, it is what it is, man. That game, I bet, was amazing to watch. Too bad it wasn't televised. I'm not an NBA League Pass person, so I wasn't going to tune in, or wasn't able to tune in, rather. Moving right along to next to the last game here, the Phoenix Suns took on the Sacramento Kings, and they pull out the victory by 4 points. Led by Devin Booker, 31 points in the game, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal on 53% shooting from the field. Man, go Devin, go. Devin had obviously enlisted the help of Kevin Durant and also Bradley Beal, last season. Clearly didn't need either one of them. Dev's a bucket all by himself. Do I think that Dev's a number 1 option for a team? I don't really think so. You know what I mean? I think that he's more like a great complementary, like 1A, 1B-ish kind of a player. But again, it doesn't mean he can't drop a bucket. I just don't know about him leading a team. You say, well, look how he led the team to the finals a couple years ago. I was at, I attended one of the finals games. I remember the season. I remember it vividly. It was incredible, to watch. But keep in mind, he still had the leadership of a Chris Paul. He had DeAndre Ayton playing out of his mind. You know what I mean? But was he the leader, a catalyst for all good things that they did? Absolutely he was. But I don't know about leader. Why am I arguing with myself here? It's so weird. I don't think he's, a bona fide leader of a team. I'll say what I said. You know what I'm saying? Zach LaVine would chip in with 30 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 3-pointers knocked down, 54% shooting overall from the field, and 29 points from DeMar DeRozan, 6 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals on 71% shooting from the field. Man, if you are a basketball purist or a lover of basketball at heart, and you cannot appreciate the efficiency and the style of play of a DeMar DeRozan, you don't really like sports. I have to question if you really, really like basketball. You know what I'm saying? Because DeMar DeRozan is a surgeon. He's a technician out there. You know what I mean? Like, his mid-range game is so efficient. The way he gets to his spots on the floor, any spot that he wants, and can just knock that jumper down, take you to the basket, do whatever. Looks like he played much more of a facilitator role last night. based on the stats with the 9 assists, but he'll classically be double teamed where you can just kind of dish the ball to an open teammate. So good to see that he, has settled into that kind of role. At least he did last night, maybe with De'Aaron Fox being out of the way and, that kind of being his show there. It'll be, more of his role this season. And so we'll see kind of what happens, even Sabonis when Sabonis is back. But yeah, so good game overall from them. Moving on to the final game of the evening, Tyrese Maxey and the VJ Edgecombe led 76ers again beat the Celtics 117 to 116. 40 points in the game for Tyrese Maxey. 2 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, 1 block on 13 of 24 shooting from the field, 54%. Knocked in 7 of 9 trays. You know what I mean? The Tyrese Maxey 78%. Man, a 40-piece nugget. Now, I was expecting Tyrese Maxey to have this kind of output last season. I was saying, man, because you never know what you're going to get from Joel Embiid. And obviously, when Paul George went down in like the preseason prior to the season starting, I was just like, man, it's going to be all Tyrese Maxey this season. So I was expecting Tyrese Maxey to actually lead the league in scoring last year. I thought he was going to do so, not because I was just like, he's the most bona fide scorer in the league, but I was like, he's going to have no choice in order to keep them, in games. And so it didn't happen last season. Maybe it'll manifest itself. I was just a year too soon. Maybe it'll manifest itself in this season right here. We'll see. VJ Edgecombe, rookie VJ Edgecombe, 34 points in the game, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal on 13 of 26% shooting from the field, 50%, and 5 of 13 from 3, 38%, right around league average. You know what I mean? A little above. So yeah, this kid, man, came into the game and clear. They're a really, really good 1-2 punch, clearly, right? And as anticipated or expected as well. Go back to my preseason predictions, that premature predictions episode, and I don't even have them making the play-in. You know what I mean? Because again, man, just the helter-skelter of being up and down in terms of their roster and health and all that stuff. And I was just thinking, I don't know. I just don't know. So I have them outside looking in, possibly squeaking into that play-in situation. However, who knows? I did say in that episode I was high on both VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey. I love the two of them. It's just everybody else. I mean, Kelly Oubre too. That's my dude. But everybody else is like, I don't know. I just don't know. You know what I mean? What they're going to get. But clearly they showed up last night, as many of us anticipated that they would, and even in a major way, man. So that's a recap of last night's games. Here we are into day 3. So looking forward to the games tonight. Moving on to part 3 of the game plan, portion number 3 being other NBA news. This has nothing to do with the gambling, has nothing to do with the recaps, but has everything to do with what ESPN deemed breaking news yesterday. The NBA will return to painting Larry O'Brien Trophy at center court and final script logo on the home team's floor for the finals starting this season, sources tell Sharms. Sharania, the last time the large trophy was painted on the court was 2009. The NBA took a lot of criticism and been criticized by me and a whole bunch of other people about kind of relaxing on some of the pomp around the actual playoffs and, playing those games up to be big deals, because it is a fucking big deal. But for putting more effort into presentation of the in-season tournament than they have the NBA finals. It's like, fuck that in-season tournament. You know what I'm saying? Like, the finals is the deal. And so anyway, good to know. Per Adam Silver, a lot of players were complaining that the logos on the court were kind of slippery, so they were slipping off of them and things like that. And obviously, health is, man, very important. So for that reason, he says they took those, things off of the court. But good to see, that he's cutting the shit and they're getting back to it, because they have no problem plastering the court full of larger, logos, etc. for that in-season tournament trash. So good to see that those will be coming back, man. Moving right into the portion 4 of the game plan, and my final word, man, just to get us out of here. Wasn't expecting to wake up to a shitstorm of, media coverage surrounding arrest for gambling, but it does shine light on the conflict of interest. I feel like that is gambling as a whole. And so I know I've joked a lot about like Cash Patel do this and Cash Patel use the FBI resources to do that. Fuck Cash Patel. Fuck the NBA, the commissioner in their office. You know what I mean? If they're not willing to do anything seriously that helps to keep the game healthy. And I do think that measures need to be put in place, whether that's Congress needing to step in or somebody needs to step in from a standpoint of oversight to make sure that, you know, that the conflict of interest is kept in check. And it is a conflict of interest to have these major sports leagues, obviously they're players, in bed with these gambling companies, because these kinds of things can happen, orchestrated or, you know, by the machine or orchestrated by the minion. You know what I mean? Like, it's just going to happen. And so the likelihood of it happening is probably slim to none. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. These are multi-billion dollar, you know, industries, being the actual sports leagues and also, you know, the gambling apparatus that they're marrying themselves to. And at the end of the day, we know that it's money that makes the world go round and not integrity. And so, and it probably will be what it is. You know what I mean? It's going to get worse before it gets better. Until, much in like the Donaghy situation and those referees years ago, the leagues will start turning a blind eye to some of the things happening. And it's not a stretch to think that, like, these, you know, Federal Bureau of Investigation and some of these other agencies will start turning a blind eye to them as well. Because at the end of the day, it's just really about lining the pockets of individuals who really don't need it. They just want it, and they want it all. And so, you know, that's the basis of this episode, man. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. It's been a pleasure, per usual. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I will catch you in the next episode. Definitely look forward to doing so. Take care of yourselves until then. Blessings.